everybody. This is going to be a video about one of my many Harry Potter Lego sets. I've been a Harry Potter fan since the first time I picked up a book. I'd seen the first movie prior to reading any of the stories, but once I picked up the book, I didn't put them down. At the time, I was able to read the first 4 books before the second movie even came out. I didn't start collecting Legos until the 7th movie, when they released the final sets of Legos several years ago.
There were a lot of early sets that, geez, when did they come out? Do you know?
I think that the first rounds came out in 2001 when the movie came out.
Oh my goodness! So Lego wasn't even big yet, like they've become.
No, and I don't even know if all of these sets were readily available across the United States, or if they were only in like major areas.
I've never seen them in a store before until we saw the newer ones, and then started looking like, oh, there's older sets and series.
Right. So because I had all boxed versions initially, I went on the hunt to, as much as I could, buy older versions with still the box and instructions, and I got this one secondhand on eBay, and it was a complete set with a box and instructions. And this is the hallway on the 3rd floor corridor with Fluffy. It's the forbidden corridor, where they run into Fluffy a couple times in the story, but this is the final where they're about to chase down Professor Quirrell.
Right, from the first movie, Philosopher's Stone or
Sorcerer's
Stone or Sorcerer's Stone in America.
So it shows a set of stairs that kind of take you up to indicate that it is on an upper level. We've got Hermione, we've got Harry, and down below we've got Ron here. It's set to simulate the trap door. You've got Fluffy with all 3 heads. You've got some devil's snare in the bottom there. The background has some spiders and webs, just to kind of give it more of a Harry Potter Hogwarts feel. I think almost everything's got bats or spiders in it somewhere.
Yeah, and owls everywhere. Like
owls everywhere, yeah, on the top. So if you remember from the story, the one thing that puts Fluffy in a calm state is to play it music. And at Christmas time, Hagrid had actually carved a wooden flute that sounded like an owl and given it to Harry. And on this, in his left hand here, is actually a flute, and there's a little picture of an owl there.
Yeah, and we'll show close-ups of these guys at the end of this.
So that's the way they get him to sleep, so they can drop down through the trap door. The blue fire you see in Hermione's hand is what saves them from the devil's snare when they fall below. The set also gave you a broom, because that's another piece of the puzzle when they get beyond it. Not that Harry needs his broom for this particular scene.
Would you say that these stay closer to the books than even the movies?
Yeah, I think it does follow the books. It came, the doorway has a key in it, and they're supposed to find the door ajar when they get up there, because they think Professor Snape's already gone in ahead of them. The one thing that was missing was the harp, because that's supposed to have been what Professor Quirrell actually used to put the dog to sleep.
Oh, you mean there was a harp missing in the set?
In the set, like they didn't actually put that.
It wasn't missing.
It's in
from
the
one
book,
Gotcha.
And they actually use a harp in the movie, and they don't reference the flute in the movie.
Oh, right. When they walk in, the harp's playing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So the trap door. I'll just kind of try.
Yeah, just lift it. So the trap door can lift.
Does lift.
Or
so
drop if you need it to.
Yeah, you'd have to turn the handle the opposite way if you want it to push down through.
And there's even a little door.
There's a doorway here that I can get it to open.
Let me just pop it from this side.
From that side. And they gave you a key that's supposed to help them get through. Each of the students have capes, which are referenced in the books consistently, the way that their uniforms are, but you very rarely see anything that looks like that in the movies. And then down below, the devil's snare.
You can spin it.
It
opens and stuff,
It
right?
opens and closes. So you could actually put somebody right
can
inside
sit in there,
there.
get trapped in it.
And be trapped until Hermione comes down with her fire, because Devil's Snare is afraid of sunlight. You get the again to you're supposed to be down low. It looks like if you're just looking at the set, they're only down one level, but really when they fall a good distance.
Right.
They're under the school.
Right. It should be like another level below if it was actor, but I mean you can't.
No, you can't. It would be too much to get that kind of scope. So that's why this set hinges a little bit, so you can try and make it look like the third floor corridor is a separate entity from
They've got it so it hinges.
the below area where they fall beneath the school.
Right.
So this was one of a few that I got from the series for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I think I ended up getting one other classroom.
I'm going to spin it around here so we can see the back side.
Yeah. And on the box, it shows you several different ways that you could rebuild the set and do different things to play with it. So I found that kind of interesting, but I'm more of a I follow the instructions.
Right.
I'm not opposed to somebody touching or playing with it like the dad in the Lego movie. I don't glue them together, but I do actually follow the instructions when I put them together and want them to come out looking like they're supposed to look.
Okay.
But until I started collecting Harry Potter Legos, I'd never owned a set of Legos, and I'd never actually built a set. And now I have several bookshelves overflowing downstairs with various Lego sets and memorabilia from the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, and we'll be able to do more of these in the future. So why don't we'll show some close-ups too.
So this is Hermione, and you can see that they did put in some very good detail. You can tell that it's the Gryffindor colors for their house. You can see an image of the Griffin on the crest, and then in the sweater and in the tie that it follows those gold and maroon colors. She is holding the blue fire. She makes several of those throughout the first book, usually inside of a jar to help keep them warm. But she also uses that same blue fire to set Snape's robe on fire at the Quidditch match to try and save Harry when he's getting bucked off of his broom during the match. So this is Ron Weasley, Harry's best friend. You can see they did a good job on his hair color, and you can tell on his face he's got freckles, and he's got little reddish eyebrows to go with everything. Again, the Gryffindor logo on the crest. The colors are right for the sweater and the tie. And the facial expression, I think, is probably very appropriate for the way Ron was in the first movie as well. Okay, and so with Harry, you can see they did a good job. They've got his scar on there, slightly reddish tint. They've got the glasses drawn on him. The flute actually looks like something you would place your fingers over the holes, and to remind you that it is supposed to sound like an owl. The little owl is painted right on the front.
Any idea why he's got a purple cape?
I don't know. I may have just put that on him instead of one of the others. They should all be black.
Oh, okay.
But it may have originally come that way. I'm not sure if the person.
Is the invisibility cloak in the first one?
The invisibility cloak is in the first one.
Maybe that's why he's supposed to have a different cape, because he has the.
Yeah, and later on they actually created this white, silvery, misty looking thing that just drapes over him totally.
You'll see in one of the other
one of the other sets. But that may be why this one is slightly different colored. It doesn't really look like there's a texture to the background at all. No. But they are supposed to be under the invisibility cloak as they're walking to the third floor corridor to try and chase after.
So before they got very fancy, because these are much more basic than the newer ones that came out years later.
Yeah, and then of course they have their wands. But I think for Lego pieces, I think they did justice to all the different characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is Fluffy, the three-headed dog. He is Hagrid's pet. He is modeled after Cerberus and was supposed to be the guardian of the trapdoor to make it difficult to get to all the other obstacles that were in your way trying to get to the Sorcerer's Stone. After he is used as the guardian for the trapdoor, he is not referred to in any of the books or movies again, which is kind of unfortunate considering they do go back and every time talk about Hagrid's affinity for big scary beasts and thinking that there's nothing to them.
Yeah, and each mouth opens. And
Yeah,
you can see that
the heads
each
actually do move, so
each
you
one's
can
independent.
play and pretend that Fluffy's barking at you or attacking you or attempting to eat you.
Yep.
One head for each of the 3 of them that were trying to get through the trapdoor, I guess.
Cool.
So that is the Forbidden Corridor, the Lego set from the first Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.